Round 15 is a wrap, and we're going to go through all 7 matches coming up in this episode. There'll also be a review on our tips from the weekend, as well as a Brownlow update and an MVP update. So stick around. This is the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. Welcome on in to the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. We've got another episode coming your way today, and it's a Round 15 review episode. This is episode number 42 of season 2025. We're going to be going through all 7 matches from the round 15 weekend of football. So sit back, enjoy. Hope your team won. If they didn't, we'll have a look at why. We go through the stats, we go through the best players, we have a look at everything that we think is important from the weekend of football. As always, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to leave a rating of the podcast. Don't forget to leave a comment. All of that stuff, it all helps. This is All Aussie Rules. Let's jump into the football. No point on wasting time. Let's jump into the first game of the weekend. It was Thursday night football. It was Fremantle, it was Essendon over at Optus Stadium, and it kind of went the way we expected. Fremantle won in the end reasonably comfortably. It wasn't the most dominant performance of their season, but they won it by 41 points, 104 to 63. They kicked straight, they won the game. There's quite a few teams this weekend that did not kick straight. This game wasn't one of them. I mean, Essendon were 9-9, so not fantastic, but compared to some other teams that we saw, it certainly was a lot better. What to say about this game? I guess we'll look at the stats first. The team stats wise, Fremantle had a bit more of the ball, about 30 extra touches, had a lot more transition play, moved the ball a lot better, over 1,000 metres more gained throughout this match for Fremantle than Essendon. That just shows that they managed to move that ball really easy from only 30 extra touches. Also says that they were maybe not as stuck in their spot. Over the recent weeks, Essendon probably have been a little bit high on the handball ratio. Not as bad this week as I think the week before. One of the games recently, they had well more handballs than kicks. This week, slightly less handballs than kicks. Inside 50s was 57 to 34. So that basically tells you all you need to know about this game. Fremantle moved the ball really well. They got the ball forward a lot. Time in forward half was 56.7% towards Fremantle's end. So they certainly controlled the ground. They had... they didn't look after the ball as well as perhaps they would have liked. An extra 8 intercepts for Essendon over Fremantle in this one. So that tells you that they did really well in that. But it was all first possession for Fremantle, every single contest. 50 to 28 first possessions just shows you how dominant they were at getting their hands on the ball quick early. Dominated clearances plus 18. So controlled every area of the game that they needed to. Had an extra 6 shots in this one, 24 to 18, which is a good sign for Essendon, in all honesty. That they only had 6 less shots, even though Fremantle dominated clearances, they dominated territory, they dominated most areas of this game. But to only concede 24 shots is a pretty good effort from the Bombers, and I think they'd be pretty happy with that side of their game. Unfortunately, those 24 shots conceded equal to 16 goals. If you concede 16 goals, you're going to find it hard to win games, especially with the amount of players that the Bombers have out at the moment and how young and inexperienced most of their forward line is. But there are some positive signs there, in my opinion. As we said, transition was pretty good from Fremantle. The numbers look pretty solid across the board. Their scoring from stoppage is what's really taken off at the moment for Fremantle. I think that's their best area. You look back 12 months, they were the best stoppage team in terms of getting clearances in the competition. This year, especially over recent weeks, they've started to turn that into scoring from stoppages and not conceding scores the other way. So in this game, they won the stoppage scoring 52 to 11. Really solid numbers, that. Turnover was dead even on 52 apiece. So Essendon did have slightly more intercepts, but only turned it into 52 points. That just goes to show, I guess, in the end, that that side of the game for the Bombers is pretty good. The stoppage area maybe needs a bit of work. Interestingly enough, Zach Merritt doesn't spend probably enough time, in my opinion, in that centre square because he is probably their best inside mid, and he's been playing a variety of roles recently. Maybe having him in there would help nullify some of that scoring. Who knows? Score Origin, interestingly enough, both teams only scored 25 v 23 in favour of Fremantle from defensive half. It was all forward half scoring for Fremantle. The ball was trapped in their half a lot, and they outscored them 60 to 37 from the forward half. They also scored 19 to 3 from the centre bounce. So it was just kind of all around the ground domination in the end from Fremantle in this one. I think that's everything from stats wise. We'll jump into like our player analysis. Luke Jackson was huge. His season is really, really developing. He's been huge over the last 6 or so weeks. We mentioned last week that according to the All Aussie Rules ratings, Max Holmes had set a record for the highest rating. Interestingly enough, it was against the Bombers for the season. The next week, Luke Jackson, also against the Bombers, goes and sets a slightly higher rating. So we now have a new clubhouse leader for highest rated game of the season, and it goes to Luke Jackson. He was outstanding in this one. 21 touches, 3 goals, dominated ruck work. I mean, you kind of got to expect that is what's going to happen. He's playing against a first gamer in the ruck. Like, he was always set for this one to be a huge game, but he certainly made it count. Caleb Sarong was outstanding as well. He was the best midfielder in this game. 35 touches, 10 inside 50s, 10 contested possessions, 7 clearances. He did it all as well, and most days that's probably going to get you best on ground. But I think it's impossible to go past Luke Jackson in this game as best on ground. 2 people kicked 3 goals, Josh Tracy and Luke Jackson. Multiple players kicked 2. For Fremantle was Frederick, Shai Bolton and Caleb Sarong. For the Bombers, it was Lumon Luau and Archer May kicking 2 each. A couple young players for the Bombers getting the job done there. MVP votes, if you're new around here, we do a MVP award. So we give votes each game according to our All Aussie Rules rating system. Top 5 players for each team get votes. The winning team get 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2. The losing team gets half of that at 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. So we do that for every single game. We'll show the leaderboard after round 15 at the end of this episode, so stick around, check that out. But votes for this game, Luke Jackson 10, he was outstanding. Caleb Sarong 8, Luke Ryan 6, Josh Tracy gets 4, Andrew Brayshaw gets 2. For the Bombers, Jai Caldwell rated their highest with 5, Darcy Parish playing some good football 4, Zach Merritt 3, Jackson Pryor 2, and Nate Caddy sneaks into the 5th best player for the Dons and gets 1 vote. Brownlow votes, I went Sarong 3. I think the umpires will probably notice him a little bit more than Luke Jackson. I could be wrong. They do love to give votes to midfielders, though. So I've given him 3. Luke Jackson 2. I think those 2 were by far the best players on the ground. 1 vote could go to any number of people. I went with Jordan Clark, which might surprise a few and probably surprises me. He had a lot of the football, but so did Luke Ryan, so did Andrew Brayshaw. I think it has to go to a Fremantle player, so I think it's out of those 3 probably. I don't see any of the Bombers players getting it. I could be wrong. There were a few that got plenty of touches, like Caldwell had 32, Darcy Parish had 31. But I just don't see them having as much of effect on the game as probably 5 or 6 Fremantle Dockers players did in this game. As you can see there, we did a team rating. We do a team rating for every game as well. Fremantle a 48.3, meanwhile Essendon just a 41.13. So Fremantle, that's slightly above their normal. Essendon, that's not too far off their normal, in all honesty. So it's probably about where we expected this game to end, in all honesty. It's it's tough for the Bombers at the moment. They go to the bye this week, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out of the bye. Hopefully they get some players back, and who knows, they might put together some consistent form in the second half of the year. They've probably at times outperformed themselves so far this year, so a loss like this isn't the end of the world. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Fremantle, meanwhile, they're starting to really cook. Can they push towards the top 4 spot? They're a similar spot to where they were last year, where I thought they were going to roll home and give the finals a real shake, and then they absolutely fell over their feet in that last 4 rounds. So it'll be interesting to see if they've learnt from those mistakes. I hope they have, because I do like this Fremantle team, and I think there's a good chance that they could push and potentially get a top 4 spot, which would be huge for them. To get at least a home final, maybe 2, would be massive for this Fremantle Football Club. Move on to the next game, which was Friday Night Football. It was down at the Cattery, the whiteout as they were calling it, Geelong, Brisbane. And boy oh boy, first upset of the weekend, wasn't the last. And a fair reason for this being an upset is the fact that Geelong kicked poorly. 6-15-51, Brisbane 14-8-92. 41-point winners. But Geelong just kicking themselves, in all honesty. If we look at most people's expected scores for this game, it's going to be pretty close. Like the main one that I use is on Wheelo.com. Go check it out. Really good AFL stats website. They have Geelong +4 as an expected score. So that's like a 45-point turnaround. You're just shooting yourself in the foot there. I don't think it's going to hurt Geelong too much in the long run, due to the fact that they don't have the toughest run home after the bye. I don't think. I think they should win a fair chunk of their games. So I think they still probably very likely top 4 and still very likely a top 2 spot for the season, I think. But this was just a really not a great performance from them. And yeah, I don't think they deserve to win by any stretch of the imagination. Poor kicking at goal is poor football. If you don't finish your goals, you don't deserve to win. It's really funny, this one, because Brisbane are usually the team that are wasteful up in the forward line, and it's happened to them many times this year and last season. Whereas this week, it was the exact opposite, and Brisbane got the win. So, a look at some of the stats here. Brisbane had a lot more of the footy, plus 64 touches. They had 7 extra inside 50s in this match. They moved the ball 600 extra metres. Intercepts were dead level. Clearances was only 1 difference in favour of Brisbane, so not too much there. Brisbane really good at first possession in this game, plus 9. So they did get their hands on the ball well early. Shots at goal, plus 3 for Geelong, 25 for Brisbane, 28 for Geelong. Pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Geelong wasteful. Brisbane took their chances, win the game. Transition wasn't fantastic from either side, in all honesty. Probably slightly better from Brisbane overall. Scoring, it was turnover scoring for Brisbane that won them this game. 66-27, 10-6 for Brisbane. Just 3 goals, 9 for Geelong. That's your difference right there. Pretty similar amount of scoring shots, slightly more for Brisbane. But 39-point difference. That sums up this match. Brisbane from the back line scored a lot in this game. Not very often do teams score more from the back line than they do from the forward line. Brisbane well and truly outscored themselves. 59-26 from the defensive half to forward half. Geelong were 33 from defensive half and just 16. 1 goal 10 from the forward half. Talk about wasteful. One of the lowest scoring games here from centre bounce. 1-1 for Brisbane, 0-2 for Geelong. As you can see on the screen, if you're watching this, if you're not, there is a graphic up that tells us the team ratings for this match. Geelong a 37.92, which I think is officially their lowest team rating of the season. Meanwhile, Brisbane 48.11. It's a really good number for them because, they do tend to score pretty highly in the team ratings. It's just their efficiency going forward that cost them in the end a lot. But this time they didn't do that, and they got the reward for it in the 4 points of this match. Some of the key players in this game, we'll start with goals, because why not? The man to talk about, Logan Morris, 2 weeks in a row, he's kicked a bag, 5 in a game, 2 weeks in a row. Obviously, they lost last week against GWS, but no fault of Logan Morris. He was outstanding. He'd done it again here. 5 goals, 1 from 13 touches. He's looking like he'll be a star. Outside of Sam Darcy, I think he's the most promising, under 25-year-old key forward in the competition. And he's well under that. He's 20, I think, somewhere around there, 19, 20. Genuinely, I think he's the most promising key forward in the competition behind Sam Darcy. Aaron Cadman's probably third, I think, and then maybe Nate Caddy. In my opinion, other multiple goal kickers, Jeremy Cameron kicked 4. He's really pushing for that Coleman, I think. He's looking very likely to win that at the moment. Cam Rayner 3, and Kai Lohman got 2 goals in this one. Other key stats, disposal-wise, Brisbane had plenty of ball winners. Zorko 33, Dunkley 30, Will Ashcroft 28, Berry 26. For Geelong, Bailey Smith continued getting big numbers. He had 28 touches. Way below his best game of the year, though, in my opinion. Other key numbers to look out for in this one. Intercepts. There was a lot of intercepts in this game. Tom Stewart, 15 for the Cats. Zorko and Harris Andrews both had 11. They're big numbers. Big numbers. A lot of them marks too. Both Harris Andrews and Tom Stewart had 5 intercept marks for this game. So defensively, those 3 players played really well. Jack Henry was okay at intercepting as well. He had 9. Other than that, we'll jump into MVPs voting for this game. We'll start with the winning team. Brisbane, 10 to Will Ashcroft, 8 to Hugh McCluggage. 6 for Harris Andrews, as I said, was really good at intercepting in this one. 4 for Josh Dunkley, 2 for Cam Rayner. And over on the other side of the fence, it was Geelong. 5 for Tom Stewart, 4 for Tommy Atkins. A couple of Toms up top. 3 for Max Holmes, who's putting together a really good season. 2 for Mark Blixarves, and 1 for Jack Henry for his 9 intercepts. Brownlow votes in this one. I've gone all Brisbane. There's a couple Geelong players that maybe have a chance, but I think it goes Will Ashcroft 3. I think 2 could go to Josh Dunkley or maybe Hugh McCluggage. Zorko could also rate in the votes, but I've gone with Dunkley. And then 1, I think Logan Morris for his 5 goals gets votes. I think the umpires will have to notice the fact that he kicked 5 goals, but we'll see, won't we? So that's game 2 of the weekend a wrap. We'll move into Saturday football, and boy oh boy, was this an interesting one. It's Carlton North Melbourne at the MCG, and North Melbourne have potentially effectively ruined Carlton's season here. Ended up only winning by 11 points, did the Roos, but they did not even score in the last quarter. This was a weird one. Carlton led at quarter time by 9 points. Poor kicking in front of goal made it look like Carlton were in kind of control of the game at quarter time, but then second and third quarters were absolutely dominated by North Melbourne, who kicked 6 goals 2 in the second quarter to 0-1 to absolutely turn the game on its head. And then they kind of just continued on that road for quarter 3, kicking 6-1 again, this time Carlton managing 3-1, so extended their lead out even further. They were best part of 8 goals up at 3-quarter time. This game was done. But Carlton did come back. They kicked 5-5 to 0-0 in that final quarter to make it look a little bit more respectable. Left their run a little bit too late, though, unfortunately, for Carlton, and they lose this one by 11 points. Due to bad kicking, due to a lot of things, but once again, bad kicking's bad football. 10-13-73 Carlton, 13-6, 84 for the Roos. Huge win for the Roos. Their season's starting to look a lot better. They're playing a lot better football. They're being competitive for longer periods of games, and they're starting to get reward, because a few weeks back, Yeah, they had a fade away again in the fourth quarter here, which they've done against Gold Coast, they've done against Collingwood, which cost them a chance at winning those games. But this one, they were far enough ahead that they managed to hold on. So credit to them. It was a great win. I don't know what's going on with Carlton. They've had a bad season. I thought this little run of matchups was really favourable for them, and it might get them back into the hunt of the top 8. But they're 2 games and percentage out at the moment, and it's hard to see a world where they're going to catch that up. Certainly playing games like this is not going to help them by any stretch of the imagination. We'll jump into some key stats in this one. Most notable stats, I think, are pretty even. Carlton did have plus 14 inside 50s, which shows that they just were wasteful, I guess. Metres gained was actually slightly in favour of North Melbourne. Forward half time, Carlton slightly ahead, 52% of the time. They won contested football. I mean, they usually win contested football, so that's no real surprise, let's be honest. What else is important there? Intercepts. Carlton dominated the intercept game as well. How they lost this game in a lot of ways is baffling. Clearances +2 for North Melbourne, so nothing too strange there, too massive. Shots at goal, 25 for Carlton, 22 for North Melbourne. Expected score, according to Willow.com, is Carlton by 3 points. So they certainly wasted their chances and cost themselves a crack at winning this game, but they 100% only have themselves to blame. The transition numbers in this game were quite horrible, if we're being completely honest. You look at the chain to score percentage, pretty low for both teams. The defensive 50 to score from both teams was horrible. 2% for North Melbourne, 10% for Carlton. They're both terrible numbers. Defensive half to score also really bad. So both teams really struggled to move the ball effectively and to get to score from that. The scoring actual numbers from the defensive half don't look that bad. 25 North Melbourne, 46 for Carlton. So that's pretty solid numbers, but it was the fact that there were so many opportunities to chain and to move the ball that failed. The numbers were huge from the defensive half in this one. Stoppage scoring, North Melbourne dominated that, and that's where they won this game, 44-15. Carlton just couldn't stop them from scoring from stoppage. Turnover, Carlton really controlled the scoring in that regard, so 56-39. And forward half scoring, North Melbourne 51-25. So they are the main areas of this game where North Melbourne won it. You look at the team ratings, they're pretty similar. 46.08 for Carlton, 47.19 for North Melbourne. That's one of North Melbourne's higher rated games. No surprise there for the season. Carlton, that's a pretty decent rating. In fact, I think it's above their average rating for the season. So they weren't terrible. A lot of their numbers were really good. It was that ability to finish plays off. 25 shots is a decent amount of shots for a game. That's about the AFL average, 25 shots in a match. Only making 10 goals from that is not great, especially when the other team's scoring 13 goals from 22 shots. It's just those little things that just cost teams games, and that's pretty much what we're putting it down to here, I think, for the Blues. Goal kickers in this one, Mitch McGovern for the Blues kicked 4. 3 for Zerha, 2 for Paul Curtis, 2 for Colby McKercher, and 2 for Orazio Fantasia for the Blues. Are all the multiple goal kickers. What else do we want to look at? Big ball winners in this one. Tom Powell, 34 touches, 11 contested possessions. He was really good. 8 clearances as well. George Hewitt, he's had a fantastic season. I think he's by far been Carlton's best player this season so far. He had 31 touches in this one, 8 clearances. Sheasel, he was good in this game, 30 touches, not 39 touches, just 30. Luke Davies-Yanaki, he's really putting together a good patch of form as well, 30. Doherty was good, Colby McKerch had plenty, Luke Parker also had plenty of it. Other big stats, big numbers, Jacob Wedering, 11 intercepts was really good. I don't think there's anything else too exciting to look at in this one. Not really. So we'll jump into our MVP votes for the winning team. As always, we start with the winning team. Tom Powell gets the 10. I think he was best on ground. He was outstanding. Luke Davies-Yanaki gets the 8. Luke Parker gets the 6. Harry Sheasel 4. And Colby McKercher gets 2 votes. All 5 of them were fantastic for the Kangaroos. They had a lot of other players that played a really good game as well, don't get me wrong. But they were the 5 highest rated. For Carlton, it was Mitch McGovern. He kicked 4 goals. He was good. Zach Williams 4. George Hewitt 3. I think he was their best midfielder in all honesty. Jacob Wiedering 2. Nick Haynes was solid enough with 1 vote down the back. Brownlow votes for this game. Tom Powell gets the 3 from me. He was best on. Luke Davies-Yanaki gets 2. And George Hewitt was Carlton's probably best midfielder and therefore might get a vote. Other than that, I don't know where else they would go from Carlton. Certainly plenty of opportunities from North Melbourne, whether Sheasel, Luke Parker, McKercher, all possibilities of getting votes. And you never know. Umpires sometimes see some strange and weird things as well. They do love a contested ball winner though. So Luke Davies-Yanaki could get votes. I can't see a world where Paddy Cripps gets votes in this game, but you never know with the way umpires sometimes give votes out. I don't think there's anything else to go on from this game, so let's move into Saturday evening game. It was over in Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. It was Port Adelaide, it was Sydney. Poor kicking from both teams, but the team that kicked worse won the game. 7-10-52 Port Adelaide. Sydney, are they back? 9-17-71. They get a win. They get a good win for them. Obviously, the big thing for Sydney this week was the fact that they've got players back. Errol Goulden back. Joel Amati back. I think they had somebody else back. I can't remember. Tom Papley, of course. How could I forget Papley? Sorry, Paps. All came back into the team this week. And they get a win. I don't think any of those 3 were fantastic or the reason they won the game, but they're certainly important to this team and the way this team plays. So, what can we talk about in this game? Sydney kind of controlled it all the way through. I don't think they trailed at any point of the match. Poor kicking kept probably Port Adelaide in it at times. I know Port Adelaide didn't kick that fantastic either. We'll get into some of those stats in a minute, but it was one-way traffic. There's no other way to say it. Like, Sydney were by far the superior team out there. Both teams played well below what they're capable of, I think, but probably similar to what we've seen from them this season, in all honesty. A look at some of the stats from this one, and worth noting, both teams had about the similar amount of ball, but it was inside 50s that Sydney dominated, plus 16 in this one. Forward half time was almost 56% of the time in Sydney's forward half. So they controlled the ground perfectly all day, and it was just wasteful in the end that kept Port Adelaide in this. 31-18 shots, plus 13 shots for Sydney. 31 shots for 9 goals is not good enough in AFL, and they're lucky they were playing Port Adelaide, who were wasteful as well and not very good on the day, because you do that against any team in the top 8 right now and you're going to lose by 50 points. So Sydney did get away with that one in many ways. You're not going to win too many games of football when you're that wasteful, but they got away with it, so that's all that matters. They get the 4 points, keep their season kind of alive. Expected score was like Sydney winning by 45, so in all honesty, they could have won by more than they did. They controlled pretty much every stat in this game. 5 extra clearances. They transitioned the ball a lot better. Interestingly, Port had 5 scores from kick-ins. That's up there with one of the best efforts of the year from any team. 1 goal 4 they got, though. Imagine if they were 4-1, 25 points from that. All of a sudden, this game might have been a game, but they were wasteful. Scoring from turnover is where Sydney were most wasteful here. 4 goals 10, 34 to 2-3, 15. Forward half scoring reasonably okay from Sydney, 33 to 9. Port Adelaide just couldn't do anything. They didn't have the ball in their forward half anywhere near enough to convert enough opportunities. And that's basically the long and the short of it. A look at some of the key players in this game. Will Hayward, 3 goals. Isaac Heaney, 2. Were the only 2 multiple goal scorers in this match. Worth noting, bad kicking from Sydney. I think it's well publicised who the number 1 culprit was. Joel Amartey, 0-6. He had 9 shots at goal for 0-6. Funnily enough, also potentially, I don't know for sure, but potentially has set an AFL record for lowest official AFL player rating at -10.5, which is a bit harsh in a lot of ways. You have 9 shots at goal, but when you don't convert one of them, when your whole role is to convert goals, maybe it is fair enough. I just thought that was worth noting. Probably a bit harsh on Joel, but hopefully he comes back next week and kicks dead straight and kicks a few. Disposals, no massive numbers here. Butters, Heaney, 28 each. Callum Mills, 27. Maybe they found the perfect role for Callum Mills. He's having a couple good games over the last few, so maybe they've found a spot for him, because early this season and last season when he came into the team after a long layoff, he really kind of struggled in finding a perfect role for him, especially with the guns in the midfield that they have. So maybe this is the way forward for them. Other things worth noting from this game, Radaglia, 11 intercepts for the game. He did play on Joel Amartey for a lot of it, so it was an interesting matchup for sure. Anything else that we need to talk about? I don't think so. That's probably all in terms of the stats that we need to see. Team ratings, Sydney 43.4, certainly not a great number, not a great winning number, but +5, 38.7 for Port Adelaide is atrocious. That's back where basically they were rated in those first couple losses that they had this season, the one against Collingwood, and who else did they get smacked by early in the season? Somebody else. Anyway, that's a similar rating to where they were at that point of the year, so not good signs for them, that's for sure. After 2 really good weeks out of the bye, Port Adelaide, I had faith that they were going to make a run towards the second half of this season, but all of a sudden, with this performance, I have no faith in that happening now. Sydney, their rating's probably not good enough for them to contend, but it might be enough to build on. As I said, Errol Goulden was solid in his first game back. He wasn't fantastic. He had, 18 touches, 390 metres gained. I think we'll see a lot better from him as he gets fitness and game time under his legs. If he can get back to his best, it'll make this team 100% better. There's no doubt about it. But we'll see how he goes over the next couple weeks. MVP votes. Brodie Grundy's putting together a great run of form. He started the season really slowly, as we mentioned in our mid-season review, which is out on the YouTube channel. We did mid-season reviews for every team as they get to the bye, so go check all of them out. Pretty much all of them are out. There's only 4 left to come. But yeah, his run of form over the last 10 weeks has been really good. He's certainly a top 5 ruckman in the competition on current form, I think. Isaac Heaney, 8. Nick Blakey gets 6 votes. Callum Mills, as I said, was really good. 4. Justin McInerney gets the 2 for Port Adelaide. Zach Butters, 5. Sam Powell-Pepper played one of his best games of the year, if not his best game of the year. Joe Richards, 3. He was good. Josh Sin gets 2. And Jason Horne-Francis was pretty quiet at times, but when he was on the ball, he was really good. Maybe nursing that injury, which obviously probably affected him, just the 16 touches. You want to see him getting a bit more than that. But he was certainly effective when he had the football, as he usually is. Brownlow votes, I think Isaac Heaney is the clear best on ground in this for 3 votes. I know Brodie Grundy outscored him in All Aussie Rules rating, but I think umpires will 100% give this 3 votes to Isaac Heaney. Back towards the form of last year for him. 28 touches, 2 goals, 4 shots. He was in everything, and he was very important. So back to the Isaac Heaney we know and love. So really good performance from him. Nick Blakey, I think, gets 2. Brodie Grundy could get votes, but we'll see. And 1, I've gone Zach Butters. He had plenty of the ball, 28 touches. 10 contested possessions, 10 ground ball gets. He was in the thick of it. He was one of very few Port Adelaide players that were really, really trying their heart out there to keep the power in this game. But in the end, Sydney's numbers and Sydney's expertise just got the job done, in all honesty. And that is a wrap on that game. We move to Saturday night football. And it was Collingwood St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. Another interesting game. Collingwood coming out of the bye. You'll probably remember, if you watched the preview episode of the pod that came out last Thursday, we mentioned this being a little bit of a danger game for Collingwood, just due to them coming out of the bye, being at Marvel. I know St Kilda were coming off a poor performance against the Bulldogs. But Collingwood navigated it. That's what they had to do. They won it by 34 points. Which was probably the biggest margin of the game, in all honesty. It was. So it was a lot closer than that most of the way. Like, quarter time, 12 points in it. Half time, 12 points in it. 3/4 time, it was 21 points in it. And then obviously 34 points at the end of the game. But, like, both in the third and fourth quarters, St Kilda kicked the first 2 goals of each of those quarters just to bring it right back and make us think that they were making a run. But every time they did, Collingwood just answered straight back. And that's what they needed to do. They get the points here, the 4 points, and they stay well clear on top of the ladder after round 15. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about just the game flow of this one. St Kilda, I think, in my opinion, defended the game really well. They came in with a plan for Collingwood. They didn't allow Collingwood to play their normal game, and that's why they were so competitive in this game. Was Collingwood just weren't able to score the way or move the ball the way they wanted to at times, and they had to adjust to it, and they successfully did it in the end, but they had to work their backsides off to get this win. You look at the numbers, disposal-wise, St Kilda had slightly more of the ball. Pretty common for Collingwood not to win the disposal count. Metres gained, Collingwood dominated that by 300 metres. Inside 50s, they ended up +4, but there was chunks of this game where St Kilda dominated the inside 50s, certainly early as well. Contested football went St Kilda's way, so that's pretty good numbers for St Kilda, 128 to 107. Clearances, St Kilda dominated that, 40 to 33. A lot of good numbers for St Kilda in a lot of ways, but in the end it was shots 30 to 24, so +6 for Collingwood. Expected score was a lot closer than it should have, than the actual result, 94 basically to 84, so 10-point margin. Collingwood won it by 34 thanks to kicking away late and just being very efficient, whereas even though both teams look like they kicked pretty straight, St Kilda missed a lot of opportunities. 11-8 they got from 24 shots, so there's 5 shots at goal that didn't get a score. Transition-wise, Collingwood dominated the absolute living out of St Kilda in this regard. I think a lot of that was second half. Halfway through the third quarter, Collingwood started to transition the ball a lot better, and I think that's when they started to score a lot better. Scoring from stoppages, even though St Kilda did get more clearances in this game, Collingwood outscored them 41 to 35. They also outscored them 60 to 38 from turnover. So Collingwood did dominate both of those areas. Defensive half 40 to 33 in favour of Collingwood, and forward half is where St Kilda couldn't stop Collingwood from scoring, 61 to 39. In the end, it's basically just across the board. Collingwood was slightly better, you kind of expect. Collingwood are sitting top of the ladder. St Kilda are sitting lower bottom of the ladder. So it's two different teams in two different spots. But I think St Kilda played probably one of their better games, and it took Collingwood to perform pretty well and Collingwood stars to stand up to get this win. You look at the team ratings. 41.89 for St Kilda. Not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. It's around about their average, slightly below. But it's not terrible. But 47.14 is pretty solid for Collingwood. They're usually around about the 45, 46 mark, so not too bad there for them. And they'll be pretty happy with coming out of that bye and performing pretty solid football. Some key numbers here. We'll start with goal kickers as we usually do. Mason Wood kicked 3 goals for St Kilda. The multiple goal kickers in this one for Collingwood were Membry 2, Dan McStay 2, Jamie Elliott 2, Paddy Lipinski 2, and Darcy Cameron kicked 2 in the first quarter. For St Kilda, the other multiple goal kickers were Dan Butler 2 and Darcy Wilson with 2 goals. What else is worth noting here is disposal getters. Wanganeen Malira led all comers with 35. Both Dacos boys got 30 each. McRae 29, Lipinski 26. Obviously, the big story of the game that everyone in the media wants to talk about is the tagging of Windhager on Nick Dacos. We won't go into it too much, but obviously Nick Dacos won that matchup. He had 30 touches and a goal, so I think Collingwood would be pretty happy with that result, and St Kilda probably not so much. Other than that, what else is noteworthy? I think Lipinski is probably the most underrated performer in this game for Collingwood. He's probably played his best game of the season so far. He was really good, and straight out of concussion protocols too, because he got concussed, missed a game, they had the bye, he comes back and plays an absolute belter. So well done to him. A little bit of an underrated star for Collingwood at times. There's a lot of people in the Collingwood community that sometimes think that he should be dropped, but games like this show that he's a very valuable part of this Collingwood team. MVP votes for this one, as always, we start with a winning team. Darcy Cameron rated the highest on the ground. He gets 10. Josh Dacos, 8. Paddy Lipinski, as I said, was great. He gets 6. Jackie Crisp gets 4. Jamie Elliott gets 2, which is funny because he only played about 10 minutes of this game. That's not true. He played the whole game, but he kicked both his goals in about 2 minutes, and his second half was a lot better than his first half and was good enough to get him into the votes in the ratings. Nashaya Wanganeen Malira, 5 for St Kilda. Jack McRae, 4. Rowan Marshall, 3. Mason Wood, 2. Max Hall gets the 1, which is an interesting one that he rated high, but that happens sometimes. Brownlow votes. Nick Dacos, I think, gets 3. I think he'll be in the umpire's eyes all day, and I mean, he had 30 touches and a goal, so quite likely. Wanganeen Malira had 35 touches, probably gets 2. Darcy Cameron, I think, deserves votes. Other ones that could get votes, McRae for St Kilda or Lipinski Crisp for Collingwood. That's pretty much a wrap, I think, on Collingwood St Kilda. We'll jump into Sunday football, 2 games to go. And this was our game of the round in our preview episode. And it turned out to be the game of the round. It was GWS Gold Coast. This one only finished a few hours ago my time when recording this. Obviously, this video or podcast will go out on Monday, so it's been a while now. But 16-10, 106 GWS, 14-15, 99 for the Gold Coast. GWS Giants, my voice nearly disappeared completely there. GWS Giants get the 7-point win. Did they look like winning this game? Not at all. Not for most of the game. Gold Coast absolutely controlled it. 7-4 in that first quarter. They were out by only 13 at half time, but then back out to 22 points at 3-quarter time. But GWS doubled their goals in that final quarter. They were 8-9 at 3-quarter time. They kicked 8 goals to 1 in the final quarter to storm home, win by 7 points. A really, really fantastic final quarter. Got them the win. Gold Coast will be absolutely kicking themselves for letting this one go. I don't know what else to say about it. They were coming out of the bye, so you kind of think maybe that potentially had a say in this result. 3 losses in a row for Gold Coast, though. It's not like danger moments just yet. They've got a long way to go. And, I mean, their losses have been against pretty good teams, but it's just getting to that point where they need a win. They need to come out next weekend and really perform well, I think. I can't think off the top of my head who they're playing next week. They've got Melbourne at home, so certainly a winnable game, but I think they did lose to Melbourne at home last year from memory, so they'll be wanting to win that one. There's no doubt about it. A look at some of the stats of this game. Gold Coast dominated possession, 398 to 342 in disposals, plus 24 inside 50s for Gold Coast. It is the way that GWS play at times, is not dominating field position. They've won a lot of games throughout their last couple years, losing the field position battle. Like, this one was 62% in Gold Coast forward half. That's ridiculous to lose the game. But it's what GWS do, and do well. They are usually a high possession winning team, but they weren't in this case. Intercepts pretty even across the board. Gold Coast actually won that area as well. It's just a weird sort of result in the end. First possessions plus 16 for Gold Coast. They will be livid at themselves for losing this. They had extra 2 shots, 30 to 28. Expected score had them winning by 22 points, and they lost it by 7. So another game where poor efficiency forward cost the team. Poor goal kicking, it's poor football. And this weekend, as most weekends have, but this weekend as much as ever, has shown how important kicking at goal is, and it's just frustrating to see continually teams just failing to convert opportunities. I know they don't do it on purpose, but at some point in AFL, teams have to look into this and work out a way to kick better at goal, because it's just cost too many teams too many weeks to not be like a number one priority in my eye, at least. Scoring from stoppages, Gold Coast really good here, 61 to 28. But you know where GWS were really good? Turnover, 77 to 38. They had less intercepts than Gold Coast and outscored them from intercepts by 40 points. That is ridiculous. That's your game right there. As GWS, the Orange Tsunami always does, scored well from the back half. 47 to 12. Absolutely dominated it from the back half. Gold Coast were good from the front half and from centre bounce. Centre bounce especially. 5 goals for 34 is a really big number from centre bounce. So teams going up against Gold Coast need to watch that and need to be very mindful of that going forward. Is Gold Coast score well from centre bounce. If you're not careful, they will score big on you straight away, and that's probably in a lot of people's eyes the easiest time to score, because it's 666, 1v1 everywhere on the ground. So that's the most crucial part, and I think if you can stop them from scoring from centre bounce, it turns into a different sort of game for Gold Coast, where they're not quite as efficient, in my eyes at least. We'll look at some of the key stats player-wise in this one. Multiple goal kickers first. GWS won it, so let's go with them first. Aaron Cadman kicked 3. Jesse Hogan, Jake Riccardi, Callum Brown, Jake Stringer, and Toby Green all kicked 2 goals. Cadman's put together a good couple weeks there. What's that? 8 goals in 2 weeks. For Gold Coast, it was 2 for Ben King, 2 for Ben Ainsworth, 2 for Bailey Humphrey, 2 for Miller, 2 for Noah Anderson. And they're all the multiple goal kickers. Big ball winners in this game. 42 for Noah Anderson, 37 for Miller, 34 for Matt Rao. 3 massive ball winners, the 3 main inside midfielders for Gold Coast. It didn't help them, though, because they lost the game. 33 for Lockie Ash, who's having a fantastic season. Tom Green, 31. Sam Flanders, 29. There was a lot of ball winners in this game. Clearance-wise, these are big numbers too. Tom Green, 16 clearances. Matt Rao, 12. That's huge numbers from both of those. What else do we have? Score involvements, 15 for Noah Anderson, 13 for Bailey Humphrey. Both big numbers. Toby Green, 11 tackles. Good numbers for him. He's not a double-figure tackler too often. Also worth noting, Jared Witt's 8 score launches doubled anybody else on the ground, so good performance from him. Obviously against a second-tier ruckman in Nicholas Madden. No offence to Nicholas Madden, he is a young ruckman though. He's not their number one go-to ruckman, so Jared Witts did make use of that matchup in this game, and he played really, really well, and was probably Gold Coast's best player, at least in rating-wise he was. I think that's everything from stats-wise. So let's jump into MVP votes. For the winning team, the home team, was Tom Green gets 10. His clearance work was outstanding. Finn Callaghan played a great game. He gets 8. Toby Green, as I said, a couple goals, a lot of tackles, really good from him, 6. Nicholas Madden in the ruck gets 4. His counterpart did play better than him, but he was still pretty solid. Jake Riccardi gets the 2. Over the other side of the fence on Gold Coast side, it was Jared Witts 5. As I said, he was outstanding. Noah Anderson 4. Miller gets 3. Bailey Humphrey gets 2. Braden Fiorini gets the 1. Brownlow votes, Tom Green gets 3. Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell get the other 2. There's about 8 players that could get votes in this game. There's a lot of ball winners, a lot of clearance getters, a lot of people in the umpire's eyes all day. The other 3 that I think are most likely to get the votes. You look at team ratings here, both teams pretty much identical. 46.84 for GWS, 46.48 for Gold Coast. Pretty accurate to where they played and how they played in the end. I think they're fair ratings for both teams. Both teams played pretty well. Both about their average. Weren't fantastic, but certainly played solid football. And I think that's fair enough for where they're at. One game left to look at, and it was the final game of the round. And it was the Bulldogs Richmond at Marvel Stadium on Sunday afternoon. And it went pretty much as we expected. The Bulldogs absolutely dominated this one. 21-9, 135 to 8-8, 56, 79-point winners for the Bulldogs. I can't remember the exact numbers I said in the preview podcast. I should have probably gone back and had a look. But I feel like I said, can't see a world where the Bulldogs kick less than 20. Tick, they got over 20. And I can't see a world where the Richmond kick more than 8 or 9. They kicked 8. So I feel like it was a pretty accurate representation of this game. Bulldogs, as you'd expect, were just the better team. And they got the job done. They did what they needed to. You look at the team ratings, 52.64 for Bulldogs, fantastic performance. Richmond 36.26, not their worst performance, I don't think, but certainly nowhere near their best. And like this is a matchup that works really well for the Bulldogs. They beat them by 95 or 91 or something last year when they met at the MCG. So it was always going to be a bit of a tough one for the Tigers. And Bulldogs certainly performed up to that level. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, we don't need to go through the scoring of this game. It was just from start to finish, one-way traffic. Certainly after quarter time, it went 18 goals to 7. Some stats from this one. It's just one-way traffic. 107 extra disposals for the Dogs. Over 1,000 extra metres gained. 21 extra inside 50s. 58% forward half time for the Dogs. More contested football. More intercepts, more clearances, plus 10. Funnily enough, Richmond had an extra 12 first possessions, but they just couldn't convert it. So they get their hands on the ball well. They just perhaps don't use it well enough after that. 35 to 22 shots. Pretty high numbers there. Expected score, not too dissimilar from the actual score. Maybe a little bit closer for the Tigers. Transition-wise, it was obviously Bulldogs a lot better than Richmond. No surprise there. Stoppage scoring 40 to 21 in favour of the Doggies. Turnover 95 to 29. That's huge scoring from Bulldogs. Defensive half 44 to 15. Bulldogs were good. And from forward half, 77 to 34. It was just all around the ground. It was pretty much every stat. The only thing that really the Tigers won all day was tackle count, which was plus 16. But yeah, it basically sums up this game. Just Doggies domination. It was what we expected to see, and the Doggies actually did it. So good on them. Well done for that. Onto the players, best players of the game. Sam Darcy, what an absolute freak that guy is. He has another 5 goals here, 19 touches. He's going to be a star. I mean, he already is a star. He's the best key forward in the competition right now. Wowee, he is good. He is very good. 5 goals, 2. Fantastic game. Also for the Doggies, 3 goals to Bontempelli, 2 for Cooper Hines, 2 for Lachlan McNeil, 2 for Riley West, and 2 for Tim English. For the Tigers, it was 3 for Tom Lynch, and he was the only multiple goal scorer for the team. Ball winners, Bontempelli, what a freak he is. 36 touches, only player over 30 touches on the ground, as well as 3 goals. 15 contested possessions, 11 inside 50s. The bloke is an absolute freak and shows why he's the best player in the competition over the last couple of years. 12 score involvements. There's just nothing he can't do. Taranto had plenty of it. Vlosten had a lot of it. And then for the Doggies, it was Davidson, Richards, Liberatore. The same story, same players, all playing well. Tim English was really good in this as well, worth noting. Other than that, I don't know. It was just one-way traffic, let's be honest. MVP votes for the winning team. 10 for Bontempelli, clearly best on ground. 8 for Tim English, 6 for Sam Darcy. Rory Lobb gets 4 and Tom Liberatore gets 2. For the Tigers, it was Vlosten with 5, Tim Taranto 4. Jack Ross gets 3, Seth Campbell was solid with 2, and Ben Miller gets the 1. Brownlow votes, Bont has to get the 3. 2 and 1 is debatable. It could go to English. I've gone Darcy and then English. It could go Libber in there. It could go any number of their midfielders, whether it's Davidson on the wing, Ed Richards, even Matthew Kennedy or Bailey Williams could be in the discussion as well. I think the one lock is Bont gets 3, and then there's probably 5 or 6 that could get the 2 and the 1, depending on how the umpires saw this game. But it was over pretty early, and the Doggies were just way too good in all ends of this game. So that's all 7. Before we go, there's still plenty of content to come, so don't leave just yet. We've got our tips, how they went for the weekend, which, spoiler alert, another bad weekend for all Aussie rules tips. And then we've also got our Brownlow update, Brownlow leaderboard after round 15 update, and also our MVP update after round 15. So let's have a look at our tips first for the weekend. We started all right. We started really well. Fremantle by 33. They won it by 41, so really good start to our weekend. It all fell apart. Geelong kicked poorly, cost me that one. Saturday, Carlton were a disgrace, cost me that one. I went Port Adelaide. They were 2 weeks after the bye, had been good. I thought they were going to be again. They let me down. We won't do that again. Then we finally turned it around. Collingwood won against St Kilda. GWS, thanks to a late comeback, get over the line in that one. And the Bulldogs were pretty close to that margin as well. Ends up with 4 out of 7. 83 out of 127 on the season. Disappointing week. There's no doubt about it. But that's okay. We'll be back again next weekend for another round of tips. Before we go on and look at our leaderboards, just worth noting, next episode of the podcast will be out on Thursday, previewing all 7 games coming up next weekend. 4 teams have the bye: Brisbane, Geelong, Essendon, GWS. There's 7 games, starting with Port Adelaide, Carlton at Adelaide Oval. Sydney Bulldogs Friday night. Saturday's Gold Coast, Melbourne. Hawthorn North Melbourne down in Tassie. Collingwood West Coast at Marvel. And then Sunday's Richmond, Adelaide, and Fremantle, St Kilda to round out the weekend of football. So that preview episode will be coming up on Thursday, so don't miss out. Also, mid-season reviews for Brisbane, Geelong, Essendon, GWS will all go live on the YouTube channel this week. We'll be starting with Brisbane on Tuesday, Geelong Wednesday, GWS on Friday, and Essendon on Saturday. So make sure you check them all out and go back and check all the rest out too. I think there's plenty of good content for everyone to see. Quick run through the ladder. Collingwood are so far in front right now. They've played 1 less game than the couple teams behind them, and they're a game and a half ahead of Brisbane in second. Geelong, 2 games behind the leader. They're third. Adelaide are currently 3 games behind Collingwood, as are Hawthorn and Fremantle. And then it's GWS who have the bye coming up this week, so they will potentially get passed by the Bulldogs and Gold Coast this weekend, who are 8th and 9th. And then it's a drop. 2 games behind 9th are Carlton in 10th, Sydney in 11th, and Port Adelaide and Essendon in 12th and 13th. Then another game behind is Melbourne and St Kilda. Half a game ahead of Kangaroos. Is it a chance that they get out of the bottom 3? The way they're playing at the moment, you've got to think it's a chance. They do have a tough one this weekend, though, against the Hawks. Then it's Richmond with 3 wins. That might be where they end. And West Coast, 2 games back with just the 1 win, sitting last after 15 rounds. So let's jump into our Brownlow leaderboard after round 15. This is how our votes sit. As you've seen today, we do 3, 2, 1 every single game. And this is where the leaderboard is. Caleb Sarong leads the way with 20. I think that would be... I'd be quite happy with either him or Dawson winning the Brownlow, in all honesty. Dawson's in second with 19. Then it goes to a couple cats. Will they take votes off each other? Bailey Smith, 18. Maxi Holmes, 17. Then it's Carlton's best player so far this year, George Hewitt, on 16, with Nick Dacos also on 16. Brayshaw, 15. Then in 8th place, we've got Noah Anderson, Jai Newcomb, Max Gawn, all on 14, as well as Connor Rose, as well, is on 14. And then in 12th, equal 12, is Hugh McCluggage, 13, Lockie Neal, 13, and Ed Richards, 13. So that's your top 14 players in my Brownlow leaderboard so far this year. There'll be plenty of Brownlow content coming up over the remainder of the season, heading into towards the Brownlow as well. So stick around. I think I'm got a reasonable system that does pretty well historically at getting the Brownlow winner. So let's see how that goes. I did get Patrick Cripps last year as the winner from Nick Dacos. Not a huge victory, but we still got top 2. So let's jump into MVP leaderboard. As you've seen throughout the day, 10-8-6-4-2 for the top 5 in the winning team. 5-4-3-2-1 for the top 5 in the losing team. Worth noting, Gold Coast have played less games than everyone. There's still 4 teams that haven't had a bye, so it's a little bit scattered at the moment. But Bailey Smith still sits out on top, even though he didn't poll this weekend, on 78. Then it's Hugh McCluggage, 73.5. Half votes, obviously, draws half votes. I don't know how to explain it. You'll work it out. Brayshaw, 73. Tristan Cherry, 72.5. He's been fantastic. Number 1 rated player in the competition so far this year. Before this weekend, I haven't finished ratings for this weekend yet, so we'll see if that stays. Caleb Sarong, Max Gawn, both on 71. Noah Anderson, 67. Then you got Maxi Holmes and Tom Green on 66. Nick Dacos, Connor Rose on 62. George Hewitt, side bottom, and Matt Rao on 60. And then Jordan Dawson is your 15th highest in the MVP count on 59. That is a wrap on everything we have to talk about from round 15. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button. I appreciate every single one of them. We're almost 150 subs on YouTube, so make sure you hit that as well. Don't forget to like the video, jump in the comments, let me know how your team went on the weekend. I'd love to hear it. That's a wrap on this episode. We'll be back with another episode on Thursday, previewing round 16. It's another big weekend of football coming up. As I said, plenty of mid-season reviews coming your way. Check out all the socials, especially Insta, Twitter /X, and TikTok. Plenty of content every single day on all of those. So go check it out. I'm Jay. This is All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. That's another episode. That's 42 in the bank. Catch us on the next one.